Hey, Steve Stine from Guitar Zoom here. I want to show you something that one of the patterns that I really love to play when soloing is this sort of horizontal 2-string, 3-note per string pattern. And I do it all the time, so I thought, what the heck, I'll just show you how this works and see if it's something that you might enjoy. And give you a couple of different ideas of what you can do with it as well. But right now what I'm doing is I'm playing in the key of G major, which if you know anything about your theory, which means you're actually in the key of E minor as well. So, you know, if you play a lot of rock or metal, you might be in the key of G major or E minor quite frequently. It works for blues as well, because if you know anything about your modes, this lick also works in, or this pattern works in A Dorian, which is a bluesy kind of mode. And again, if you don't know anything about any of that, don't worry about it. Just understand that this thing will work whenever you're in a key of E, doing some sort of hard rock or metal thing, or if you were, you know, your main chord was G. And again, if that's all it means to you, that there's nothing wrong with that. And it might just be an exercise that you're messing around with to try and develop your chops a little bit. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be using the G major scale, again, as I just described, all the way up the fretboard, using this particular kind of pattern. And the way this is going to work is I'm going to play 3, 5, and 7 on the second string. Then I'm going to play 3, 5, and 7 on the first string. Now, because I have two adjacent strings, I'm playing down, up, down, up, down, up. I'm playing complete alternate picking. If there's a different kind of picking pattern that might suit you better, that's awesome. But for me, when I'm playing something like this, the goal is to kind of forget about what my picking hand is doing, and it just rotates, and it just keeps picking over and over and over. So my entire pattern all the way up is going to consist of just going down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Now, the nice thing is all these patterns are also in groups of 6, because I have 3 notes on each string. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to move up 1 fret higher, which puts me at the 8th fret. And I'm going to play 8, 7, 5, 8, 7, 5 backwards. So I have 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7. Move up and do 8, 7, 5, 8, 7, 5. Okay. Now, what I used to do when I started practicing these sorts of things is I would take just what I've just shown you right there, and I would just practice that over and over and over with and without a metronome going. So if you think about it, if you set your metronome going, you see, so you can, we're going to keep building up, but you can take just one little part and just practice it over and over and over, because the key to effective speed is timing and synchronization. That's really what you're dealing with. So if you're trying to do something faster than you can, whether it's, you know, incapable of going that fast at this point in your life, or it's early in the morning and you haven't really warmed up, or whatever the case may be, the goal is to get the blood flowing and get your brain synchronizing with what your fingers are trying to do. And even if you walked away just practicing that one thing, it's an incredible win, because as we keep building here, you could pick any 2 adjacent patterns as we move up and just practice doing them over and over and over in rotation. So let's move on to the next one. So now I've got 5, 7, 8. I just came down that 8, 7, 5 just like this, right? Okay. So now what I'm going to do is move up to the 7th fret, and I'm going to play 7, 8, 10 both times going toward the floor. So now I have this. So you see how I went towards the floor, moved over towards the ceiling, moved over towards the floor again. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move over again to the 12th fret, and I'm going to play 12, 10, and 8. So again, all the notes that I'm playing at this point all fit in the key of G major, which is the same as E minor, or so on and so forth, if you know your theory. So everything's fitting, okay? It's just that up to this point, we've been lucky because it's very symmetrical. right? You've got this shape here, which is symmetrical. Both strings are doing exactly the same thing. Then we move up to 8, 7, 5, and it's the same shape. Then we move up to 7, 8, 10, it's the same shape. Then we move up to 12, 10, 8, and again, it's the same shape. So it looks like this. Okay, but now we're going to move up to the 10th fret, and we're going to make our next shape, but this is where it changes. We're going to play 10, 12, 13, and you'll notice I'm using my third finger there because on the next string I have to play 10, 12, 14. And the reason is because I need this F sharp. In the key of G, I have an F sharp in there. So I have, if I'm playing the notes that I want here, I actually have, if we think about the notes of the key of G, we've got G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. So if I look at all my notes here, G, and then if I go to this shape that we're talking about right now, I have A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. So that's why this particular shape winds up being off one with that finger. So up to that point, you were being very symmetrical and it was working out great. When you get here, it gets a little bit harder. Now, you might say, I don't need to go any farther. I might just go up to here and then work my way back down. Let me show you what I mean by that. You could play... Watch this. See how you just went backwards? Up, 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 back, back, and back. So I could make a little loop just going back and forth with that, okay? But let's just keep going since we're working this whole thing up. So when I get to this one, it's going to look like this. And I just have to get used to the unusual fingering of using all four fingers to make that work. Which means when I move up, I'm going to go to 15. But when I go backwards, I got to go 15, 14, 12, 15, 13, 12. So if I put those two together for you to see, it looks like this. Sorry. There we go. Okay. So let me play the whole thing in its entirety, starting at the beginning here. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is move up to the 13, and I'm sure you're guessing what's happening already. I'm going to play 13, 15, 17, 14, 15, 17. Because again, I've got to accommodate that weirdness happening right there. So I'm using my first finger, my middle, and my pinky. And then I'm also using the same fingering here. I just have to move that first finger up. So that's what I'm doing there. Then what I'm going to do is move up to the 19, and it evens out again. Because now I'm starting all over again. I'm doing this one down here. So I'm doing 19, 17, 15. So let me play the whole thing nice and slow for you so you see this. Move up. Move up. Move up. Move up. Now this is the weird one. Move up. And this is the other side of the weird one. Then we move up, and we've got the last part of the weird one. Move up. Now we've got symmetry again. I could stop there, because I'm on the D here, which is compatible with that G chord or whatever. But I'm going to finish it off by doing this. I'm going to move up to the 19th fret. I'm going to play 19, 21, 20, or excuse me, 17, I'm sorry, 17, 19, and 20, which was this one right there. And I'm just going to finish that up. You know, I might do some sort of bend or whatever it might be. So this is what it looks like. Okay, a little faster. So you see, it sounds really neat. So when you're playing over something, you might have an A, you know, kind of a rock and roll thing going in the key of A, and you throw this in, and maybe you don't do the whole thing. Maybe you just do a little bit of it. Or two of them. I mean, there's all kinds of different things that you can do. So I use these patterns on all kinds of different strings. in different ways, but it's one of my key go-to speed style patterns, regardless of what key I'm in. I mean, I can change to the key of A or the key of D or the key of whatever. And the beauty of this is going to change, the pattern itself is going to start and stop at a different place, but the way they connect together is still going to be the same, right? And again, I don't want to get too far into that, but if you understand anything about scales, you know that scales on the guitar, if I'm in the key of G versus the key of D, all I'm doing is just kind of rotating like a treadmill. I'm rotating that whole scale shape across my fretboard. So this and this and this and this are still going to exist. They're just going to be in a different place depending on the key that I'm in. So for right now, let's just focus on the key of G and it'll be just fine, okay? But just so you're aware of that. So what's some other things that we could do with this? Well, one thing I like to do is instead of going up, meaning toward the floor, and then towards the ceiling, is I'll just play them all toward the floor like this. And that's kind of fun. Or you might play it backwards doing this. And that's kind of fun too. Now, every one of those is going to require, extra amount of practice and those sorts of things because they are kind of difficult to do. And the most important thing is for you to be patient, because if you try and take this stuff too fast, it just winds up sounding very sloppy. And believe me, if I can learn how to do this stuff, you can learn how to do this stuff. Because none of this came easy for me. It was just a matter of sitting there doing it over and over and over, making a connection to a metronome, making it connect in terms of its timing. Whatever it is that you'd like to be doing. Or you could take each one and just practice each one on its own, however you'd like to do that. But there's something really empowering about being able to play some of these ideas. And again, you might not be able to do the whole thing. Maybe you can, and that's great. But it's just learning how to build up something that you can utilize in your playing. So when you're playing something slower, you can decide to throw something really cool in there to kind of shake things up a little bit, which sounds really neat to your listener. And again, I'm not saying you have to learn how to play fast or it's whatever it is you're looking for, but I'm saying it is a tool that we use as guitar players, just like everything else. So what I find is most people, when they go, I have no interest in playing fast, that's not true. Most people, music is whole note and half note and quarter note and eighth note and 16th note. That's what it is. If we spent our whole lives just playing whole notes, who the winner is that plays the absolute slowest, it wouldn't sound very interesting, would it? So we want to be able to play somewhere in the middle there. Do we want to play fast all the time? Heck no. But we do want to be able to do some things that bring us out of just playing quarter notes all the time or something like that. So the downside is that most people that say that I don't want to do anything like that, it's because they don't want to practice these sorts of things because it takes time. Okay? I don't care who it is. As far as players go, the goal is in your playing is to be dynamic. Dynamic both in terms of contrast, in tempo, in melody, in pitch, in so many different things go into that. So this is a really nice thing to be able to just look at and go, what could I do with this? How could I apply this in a way that would make sense for me and what I'm looking for, but still add some dynamics so when somebody listens to me, they go, wow, everything doesn't sound exactly the same all the time. You got this new idea. So stay positive. That's the most important thing, and be patient and practice hard, and I'll talk to you soon.